been a while since the last genuinely uploaded, and the fact that I booted up fucking Audacity today to record is unlikely as shit. But ignoring all that, Vetex actually dropped the biggest bombshell of a fucking Trello update. Because if you don't know, the old roadmap for the game update kinda just sucked. But recently the roadmap has been reworked, and I've got to say it's restored a degree of hope in the game for me. The different sections of it are as follows: who's currently working on what, the update in progress, and a new general roadmap of things to be added this year. Let's begin with the first section. This tells us the Assassin Syndicate and the Navy base is dropping this update. New items are being added, and someone's actually doing balance, and the villain and hero mini-boss system is returning from 1, I think. Fort Castrum is also being added, which will eventually have a capturing mechanic from raiding it. There's a mini-boss called General Valerie there, and a new volcano island is being added in the Bronze Sea. This is of course only the current things being worked on. The update is more coming, but the addition of a Navy and Syndicate base will certainly help the sea feel less empty and will add the abolitionist badge for this sea. And in theory, it should also increase the player count of the Nimbus Sea. And another pair of mini-bosses in the base will probably be added to match Kai and Murloc, but presumably far more powerful, seeing the jump in NPC strength from Bronze to Nimbus. Speaking of which, the NPC max level is being lowered from 260 to 200 until we get to high levels, since everyone knows NPCs that are stronger than Calvus when we've only gone up 15 levels is bang out of order. What'll excite all the people running the game at 30 FPS though, is the new physics system, which Vetex claims will improve performance. And the imbue memory leak is also fixed, which is like a fucking game killer. Underwater structures can also now lower the sea floor around them to generate much lower down. You'll need high level water breathing potions to reach them successfully, and they can carry a new item modifier called arisell, giving defense and resistance. Silver and gold chests are 4 times more common, and looting one of these structures fully gives a new badge, because of the depth, darkness, all sharks down there being giant variants, and well, it's a lot to loot. On the topic of loot, there are 2 new armor sets, which are like the equivalent of sunken sets, but from treasure charts. They're called the Lost Envoy and Lost Diplomat sets, and they give high power and regeneration, and high power and resistance respectively. The chance to drop a single piece of these sets is 1 in 100 per treasure chart spot solved, and they don't drop with modifiers like Blasted or Crystalline ever, so we can assume they're going to have excellent stat efficiency already, like the sunken sets. It's also worth noting that the chance is 1 in 80 per piece per spot on exotic charts, and 1 in 60 per spot on legendary charts. There's also 3 new Dark Sea armor sets called the Dummies set, the Diatrus set, and the Dark Magos set. The Dummies set is a mosquito set with drawback, giving speed and agility, so you can assume getting a fuck ton of them. The Diatrus set gives power and armor piercing, with warding too for some reason. And last, but most certainly not least, the Dark Magos set is the equivalent of Glass Arcanium, giving power and negative defense. I won't leak the Patreon this time, so I won't be showing them on screen, but they actually look pretty cool and should be actually good, unlike the shit Vetex added in 1.14, which, let's be real, only existed to say that Dark Sea armor sets exist. Only usable one was Vetrachos. The third section of the roadmap is for 1.18, the full release of the game. It adds a grand total of 6 new boss fights, which should be cool. They're listed as follows: Dusk, a Bronze Sea boss that drops a spirit weapon. Evander, another Bronze Sea boss that drops a new strength weapon, the Colossal Greatsword. The most intriguing to me is the Halbyon fight. It could perhaps be one of Wotan's sons. There's also the Leviathan boss fight, the small sea monster rumoured at Sailor's Lodge, which brings enormous storms in its wake. There's the King Caesar boss fight, which will probably be the new Ravenna King after Calvus. And the final boss added is Ormolu, which sounds like a sea monster, but we can't be sure. Story chapter... Actually, I might Google it. Story chapter 8 and 9 will also be added for 1.18, so I imagine it'll take fucking ages to drop. We might be looking at another 6-monther. We'll also get sensing in full release, which will be much more complex than the sensing in Arcane Adventures. Vetex has, like, talked about how it's fucking different for, like, magic, fighting, and weapons. It's like, you sense a great power near you, instead of just being, like, the fucking cloud on their power level. But it's, like, honestly, if I were to research it, it'd be a full video in itself, I'll leave it at that. Culture-specific gear is kind of being returned, which will give more customization, I suppose. It's, like, fucking island-specific, but same difference. New armor sets, more fighting styles to make the game worse, and new islands. There are some other things, but I'm lazy and won't bring them up. So that wraps that up.